It's Psych Ups with Brian, and you're live with me. Yay. So, how are you doing today? I wanted to talk today about getting leads, finding for sale by owner leads, and what the easiest, most simplest way to do that is. And I think it's Zillow. I think Zillow is a way to tap into your local market, and the maps is really what's very helpful. I like a good map. I like a map that's going to show me all the properties listed in an area. It's got all the for rents, it's got all the for sales, it's got all the solds, things that recently sold over the last maybe 2 years. So this is a really helpful maps that you get in Zillow. Zillow is an awesome tool. And if I'm just going to target, and if I just want to go target any random city in America, now we have some high tech programs that are advanced, and they're basically RealFlow. It's a whitelisted version of RealFlow where they put some fancy alterations on it and call it something different. But that basically we use RealFlow. So RealFlow has a lot of really good information about houses and cities, and they even use AI to rank the properties in terms of how likely they are to sell in the next 90 days. So all that is really valuable information. Okay. But if you don't have that, Zillow is a great resource, and we use them in conjunction. So using Zillow, what's the best way to use Zillow? Well, to number one, to just find a whole bunch of FSBO leads or whatever FSBO leads there are in that market. Now, sometimes you'll find, and I was just for a particular student is in uh, Grand Junction, Colorado. Okay, so I pulled up Grand Junction, Colorado, and there's 8 FSBOs. Okay, and most of them are about 450 or like that, 450, 550. So what does that tell me about Grand Junction, Colorado? It tells me a lot. It tells me what the average prices are. It tells me how many for sale by owners there are. It gives me an idea of how active the market is, and how many FSBOs compared to how many listed also tells me something. So how many, if there's like, a lot, now there's always going to be 20, 30, 40, 50 times more listed properties than there are 100 times more listed than there are FSBOs. In some areas, you just don't find very many for sale by owners. So what does that also tell you about Grand Junction, Colorado? That if you live there, you're going to have to think about possibly moving, having other cities that you're targeting. So good morning, Lucky. Hey, Lucky did the best job last time of turning in awesome leads, and we called a bunch of them. And so, Lucky, I'm glad to see you here. So it's 1 week from tonight. So why am I talking about finding FSBO leads? Because 1 week from tonight, we're doing our special event that we do every 2 months. And we love to take leads. We need leads to call. So absolutely, I want you to turn in leads. All you got to do if you talk to any for sale by owner, and I'm good with you calling landlords. Remember, there's a landlord calling script in your what to say and what to do system forms folder. There's a script you can use to call landlords. So sometimes that's also worth it. And if you don't have a lot of FSBOs in your market, look up how many houses for rent. So how do you find those on Zillow? Well, you go to the top, and where normally you're going to have for sale, it's going to say for sale, and then you're going to go down to where it says more, and you're going to click off agent listed, auctions, new construction. You're going to click all that stuff off except for owner listed. The only thing you're coming soon is another one you click off. All those are clicked off. The only one you have clicked is what? Owner listed. Okay. And then so if it says for sale up there and all the little houses on the map are red dots, and over here it says, by owner, then you're going to have just the FSBOs popped up, and they'll be displayed on the right side. If you click on them, it opens up the listing, and it's got the phone number of the owner in there. Okay, so that's how you find FSBOs on Zillow. It's really easy, and you can even do it from the map, and you can kind of click on each red dot and then you see, and then it pulls up the listing that way as well. They're also displayed on the right side. Now, remember, I also want you to check out the purple dots, and that's when you go to the top and click, instead of for sale, you click for rent. Okay, and that changes all the dots on the map to purple dots, and those are all houses for rent. So you can call those using the landlord script, and the added advantage is you're going to know how much houses are renting for in that area very quickly. Okay, so again, you can target your own city, but if you don't have that many FSBOs around where you live, or they're not too, not too liable to be good cash flow properties, then I want you to call anywhere. Pick a city. We are in Detroit, Louisville, Kentucky, Evansville, Indiana, Blaine, Minnesota, Minneapolis, Minnesota, around Minnesota, and of course all around Arizona. So we have a lot of different properties, so a lot of different areas. So you guys, you don't even have to have boots on the ground. Some realtor will help you. The way these deals work, you don't really need to be there. Everything is so virtual nowadays. All right, so I want you to send me leads though. So everybody should be focused on finding FSBO leads. The other thing you can go to is Craigslist. Is every single FSBO listed on Zillow? No, there's other, listing sources. So you don't have to just go to Zillow. Look here. Happy Monday. All right. It's going to be an amazing week. Awesome, Lucky. Got 40 plus inbound leads, mostly road signs and Facebook ads. Awesome. Most of them follow-ups, 4 to 5 potential future deals. Wow. I know, Lucky, you turned in the most last time. You were awesome. I had an appointment on Sunday, $310,000 mortgage, and he's okay to sell for what he owes. That sounds awesome. ARV is 325. Okay, that's good. So you got a little bit of positive equity. So if the ARV's 325, your asking price would probably be 339.9. PITI 2400 rent. Okay, that's the challenge right there. See? Okay, the PITI is 2400 and the rent, you can only get 2200, or can you maybe get 2600? It's a townhome, 3 floors, 2,700 square feet. He wants to talk to his lawyer to check agreement. Okay, well, I don't necessarily like attorneys getting too involved, and you're not going to buy a house subject to. You're going to do it on a wrap. So if you're taking over his mortgage for 310, the attorney is going to want you to do a new mortgage. So there's 2 pieces of paper, guys. When you are doing a subject to, just you and the seller's cool with it and do not have their lawyer involved, usually they're okay with, sometimes they're okay with just doing a subject to deal, where the only piece of paper that says you're going to be making their payment is the purchase and sale agreement, where it says you're going to buy the house subject to. And so it's just unstated, assumed that you're going to start making the payments. That's, a function of a subject to deal. So, but the attorney's not going to like that. So there's 2 pieces of paper that the attorney or your title company or somebody will have to prepare. And that's a new note and a mortgage. A note is how much you're borrowing, how much seller financing they're extending. And it's exactly the mortgage amount. So if they owe 310 and they're selling it to you for basically what they owe on the mortgage, then the new note would be for 310,000, and the new note would reflect the underlying mortgage's terms. It would say $2,400 a month. And it would actually not say $2,400. It would not include the taxes and insurance. The note would be for the amount of seller financing alone, just the principal and interest payment that would be going to the mortgage company. So that should just reflect the exact terms of whatever the underlying mortgage is on the new note. And then what is the mortgage? The mortgage ties the note to the house. The mortgage says, hey, if you don't pay on the note, we can take the house back. Okay, so that's why you need 2 pieces of paper. The note is just saying, I'm borrowing all this money, $310,000 from you. And then this is how I'm going to pay it back. Okay. And then the mortgage says, if you don't pay it back, I'm going to take the house. Okay. So I hope you understood all that, but you can always watch this stuff over, guys, if I talk too fast. Okay. Property in Durham, North Carolina. Great. Okay. I think I could be close if you were on the phone. Yes. Let me talk to that guy And I'm okay. We used to mend to you, Lucky, so that's great. Yes, I want to talk to that one for sure. And you know what? Here's the big thing. When you're selling these properties on lease purchase, not only do we push the purchase price a little bit, so like if you think the house is worth 325, I'm probably going to push it to maybe 339.9, especially if it shows well, and especially if there's other properties in the area that have sold for more in that range. So I'm going to check the comps and look around a little bit, but I'm going to try to ask at least 339.9. So that would give us going in a $30,000 positive spread. Buying for 310, asking basically 340, but 339.9. Play that game. So that I like that spread, but again, I don't like the spread necessarily on the monthly payment. So this is where we have to figure out: can we get it to just 24.9? I mean, even if we could just get it to 24.95 a month, at least it's going to cover our payment. Obviously, I'd like to be able to get more than that, but if the payment's 2,400 and the fair market rent is 2,200, then we do what we can do. Okay. And here's the thing. This is why I like houses that are under 200,000. Usually they cash flow better. Okay. Once you get up in this 300, 400, $500,000 price range, the mortgage payment sometimes is too high. It's just more than what we can get for rent. And that's why I want you, if you are living in a city where all the houses are 400 plus, to definitely find an area where you can buy houses for 200 or less. Okay, because that's where you can build a faster portfolio with houses that will most likely be cash flowing properties. Okay, so yeah, Lucky, we'll talk to you about that one. And told him I buy on wrap. Yes, that's exactly right. So what did I just explain when I said you're going to have a new note and a mortgage and have it reflect the exact underlying mortgage terms? That's a wrap. Okay, that's a wrap, folks. So yes, we're doing a wrap there. So that's sharp, Lucky. That's exactly what we're doing. And that protects him. Why? Why isn't the lawyer going to like a subject to deal? Why is the lawyer going to look askance at us when we send over a subject to deal? Because his seller is not protected in any way. It would be basically legal malpractice if he told his client to sign the subject to deal. Because why? Because you could stop making the payments and their credit would be damaged unless they started making the payments. They don't even live there. And they would have to wait for the mortgage company to get around to foreclosing on you. They don't have any way to, have a legal remedy and foreclose on you themselves unless you do a wrap. If you do a wrap, then they're holding a piece of paper that they can foreclose on and get you out of the house. Otherwise, they got to wait around for the mortgage company, and the whole time their credit's getting hurt. Okay, so he is a VA. Okay, VA loan. Now, VA loans technically are assumable loans, but what's the challenge with VAs? The challenge with VAs is they only have so much of eligibility on their VA, and if they used it all up for this house and then they want to go buy another house and they want to use their VA eligibility, it's tied up on this house. And so that's the challenge there, guys. So but that's always a challenge, is where they're moving to and can they qualify for their next mortgage with this mortgage still being on their credit report. So that's always going to be a challenge. And that's why, you have to, that's the one stumbling block where you could have a very motivated seller who wants to do it, but they don't realize that, oh, I have to qualify for my next house and I can't do it because if this is on my credit. It used to be really easy to do this. And all the banks would just, if you wrote up a lease agreement and showed it to the bank, they'd say, okay, we'll give you 75% credit for whatever that says on there. So we could offset the debt on their debt ratio by just writing up a lease agreement, even if it wasn't, completely accurate. So it was super easy before. They were not picky about it. But then the big mortgage blow up happened in 2008 and everything changed. They got a lot more picky. And so now normally for a FHA, now this isn't necessarily the case with a conventional loan, and you can work with conventional loans and sometimes they're more flexible. So you should have a good conventional lender. You should also have a portfolio lender, a local small bank who does mortgages who just makes up their own underwriting rules because they can be flexible and do deals that are just whatever smart. Those are like little companies like Beneficial. Sometimes storefront finance companies will carry a few mortgages on their books, and they are real flexible for doing, creative deals sometimes, if it makes sense. So that's good. But usually with an FHA loan, if they're going for a normal FHA loan, they're going to want to see 12 months of payments made by somebody else other than you. Now, then they will take it out of your debt ratio. So if your seller does not have to go buy a house for 12 months, they're just planning on renting for a little while. If they can at least wait 12 months, then in 12 months, this debt will be able to show that we've been making the payment for 12 months, and they should take that debt out of their debt ratio. So keep that in mind, guys. It used to be that we could get that debt out of their debt ratio right away. Now it's you got to jump through some hoops because of new rules. Hey, Tony, how you doing? I'm getting into some kind of technical stuff, but this is always good training. And if I'm going too fast and you're not quite grasping it, guys, what can you always do? Watch it over again. A lot of houses with motivated sellers who bought them between 22 and 25. Problem is no cash flow, but it's great for a long run. Yes, and I do think that Lucky, even without big cash flow, these are properties you want to buy and hang on to, especially if you got a bunch of motivated sellers like that, and you can basically buy the house and have any kind of spread at all. Like it looks like you probably have, if they're willing to go to 310 and it's worth 325. Like I said, I want you to ask 339.9 on that one. So you've got a $30,000 spread that's only going to get better. And you may just have this house as a regular rental. And guess what? The rent might go up. So the rent might go from, right now, just you want to get $24.95. Okay, so get $95 positive cash flow per month. Remember, you got to look at all four aspects of every deal: purchase price, monthly payment, length of term, and down payment. So on this particular deal that we're talking about on Lucky's, purchase price, yes, that's a good one. Now I always break these down. I have this analogy of an apple pie. So a normal apple pie takes 4 medium-sized apples. Okay, so purchase price in this case, that's a pretty juicy apple. We're getting $30,000 in free equity. What about the monthly payment? Ugh, that's not such a good apple. That's kind of a scrawny apple, and in fact, it almost might have a worm in it. Okay, if we can't get $24.95, if really the top that we can get is $2,200, then that apple may have a worm in it. That might be a deal killer, because you don't want to have a negative $200 negative cash flow every month. Now, would it actually be worth it? You're getting $30,000 in free equity. So that's $2,500 a month you're going to lose on the monthly payment, but you have tax advantages. The mortgage is getting paid down. Look how much the mortgage is going down every month. Maybe the mortgage is going down $300 every month. And so that $200 a month, technically, that it looks like you're losing, really you're actually gaining $100. So you got to look at other factors here. To make sure, maybe it's maybe a better deal than at first glance it looks like. And yes, we've bought houses with negative cash flow. So purchase price is good. Monthly payment, not such a big apple. Length of term. Now, if this is literally a subject to where they bought it 2 or 3 years ago and they're willing to give it to you with no balloon payment and just, forever financing, we call that sweetheart seller financing, then that's awesome. Then that is a massive, big, juicy apple. And then lastly, down payment. No down payment. They're selling it to you for what they owe. So that's another big, juicy apple. The only non-juicy apple is that monthly payment. Okay, so then you just figure out ways to get past that, work it out, now here's another thing you can do to get more on a monthly payment. You can offer them rent credits. So you can say, hey, look, I'm going to charge you going rent rate, which is $2,300 a month, but everything you pay over that, I'm going to actually give you credit towards the purchase price of the home. Okay, and I might even match it. If you pay $200 extra per month, I'm going to give you $400 credit off the purchase price every month. Okay, so that's another way. Now you're playing with your equity. You're sacrificing some equity. You're giving them some equity, but guess what? You're getting a higher monthly payment. So there's strategies that you can use like that. We call that our down payment assistance program, and we have that form. So that's another strategy you can do to offset a monthly payment challenge. Okay, lots of good technical stuff here. They're not planning to buy in the near future. Excellent. I asked him about, does he need VA eligibility? He said no for now. Okay, Lucky, you have really done a great job. You've already, smoothed out and answered, gotten all the typical objections answered. You're a smart guy. I explained to him that with the wrap, he has a great chance to get a new mortgage. Yes, and that is true, but usually they need 12 payments of that. Great info. Learned a lot. Thank you so much. Awesome. Can I raise after a first year lease option? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We will often do that. After 12 months, we raise the monthly rent. Now sometimes there's some rules about how much you can raise. So you should be aware of that in your local area. Sometimes they have a cap on how much you can raise percentage wise, the rents per rent control, you call it. Sometimes people call it that, but sometimes there is something out there in separate municipalities. So check on that. All right. So lots of incredible information. Lucky, I love talking about deals, and we'll talk a lot about more deals because a week from Monday. Now, remember everybody, a week from Monday, a week from today, we are doing live calls at 7, probably I would say 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern time. So any for sale by owners, landlords, even realtors, anybody you call who looks like you might have a deal cooking, even if it doesn't look so good, fill out the sheet. The sheets are all in your forms package and your what to say and what to do system. Fill those forms out, send them in to us. You can text them to us or email them to us. I have put my email in here before, and my, did I write that right? At Gmail. And so I want you guys to shoot them over, and we will work those leads. And then if you are sending something, it's a good idea to text me too. I do see the texts for sure, but sometimes the emails, they get a lot of emails going through that email. So sometimes I don't, they can slip through. So, all right, guys. So those are the phone number and text, the email and text. So you feel free to email me any leads, just attach them, and we'll work them, and we'll call them on a week from tonight. And again, tell your people, if you talk to somebody and you say, my partner who lives in Arizona, they have a 480 area code. They're going to call you Monday night, the 6th, October 6th, sometime around between 7 and 8 p.m. Eastern time. Okay, so that's what to tell people. And then hopefully they'll pick up. One big challenge, guys, is, they see our phone number out of area and they say, who's calling me from 480? But if they already got prepped and warned by you, then hopefully they're clicking pick up and we get them on the phone. All right, so I'm very excited. Great stuff today, Lucky. Thank you so much for sharing that deal. And any deals you want to send over, we'll be working them in a week. So everybody, send in your deals. This is your big chance to work with the Wolf couple and get our best advice and get us, calling your seller and doing our best to close your amazing deals. All right, so I'm sending in deals. That's our affirmation for today. I'm sending in deals. Okay, ready? 3 times on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I'm sending in deals. I'm sending in deals. Yes, I'm sending in deals. Yeah. I hope that's true. I hope you will send in some awesome deals. Okay, 3 deep breaths. Nice deep breath in. Feels good. Okay, another one. Always remember to smile. Have a big smile. Start each day with a smile. Sometimes I forget that or it slips in my mind, but I always remember it. Start each day with a smile. Or just smile therapy. Smiling is one of those trigger gestures. It's the best trigger gesture to automatically change your mood for the better. All right, so guys, let's have a great week. Find those FSBOs. You got a whole week. You can even call them next weekend, but I'd call them, during the week and next week, and any city. Does not have to be where you are, and we will help you develop that portfolio. And we know people in pretty much every city. And if we don't, we'll figure it out. We'll help you figure it out. If you're wanting to try new cities, like if you want to do Cleveland, you don't know anybody in Cleveland, you've never done any Cleveland deals before, we'll figure it out. Okay. If you want to call Cleveland deals, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'll find somebody in Cleveland. All right. We got students everywhere. So great to see you guys. Awesome session today. Sorry I went really long, but we had a lot of good stuff today. So I will see you on Friday. Until then, keep expecting success, getting awesome training from the Wolf Couple, calling and sending in leads, and taking action.